Today, the people of Nagaland daily yearn for peace in the land. How should we get out of this combat mood? I think that is a very important issue which this seminar also should attend to. First, we must try and clear our minds of all the clutter or confusion. Next, we should cultivate a positive attitude so that we can face any kind of confrontation with a composure and patience. Only then can we generate situations that are reasonable, congenial, and peaceful. Secondly, compassion and peace go together hand in hand. We must promote in a proactive manner mutual understanding among the people of all sections and respect, compassion, collaboration, and honest transaction among the people themselves. The same principles of mutual understanding, continuing dialogues, practice of concessions, and learning to accommodate each other's viewpoints will help promote understanding. Thirdly, peace as antidote to war. There is no way to peace. Peace is the way. In a society based down on conflicts, this revelation could be a beam of hope. We can achieve lasting peace only when we realize that peace is the way in and of itself. And this is the motto. This should be the agenda of today's discussion so that you'll be able to at least formulate a viable, this instrument whereby we can help restore peace and harmony in this part of the country. Thank you.
To that, I am very conscious of the fact that Dr. Jamir is a towering personality and I am no match to his intellectual prowess and statesmanship experience. However, I'll endeavor to exact his vision, intent, and emotions to you all. I quote, "Friends, I was born in the year 1931. Well, my age is not an issue to talk about. But at the same time, it is also true that we are in and look forward to play pivotal role in the modern socio-political domain. On the basis of the prevailing scenario, we have to chart out a roadmap for the future of the Nagaland. Military-civil fusion seminar arranged at the initiative of the IGAR North is indeed laudable because the theme is most appropriate to face the challenges of the time in the world of the Nagas. The geographical, historical, and socio-cultural matters can be understood well only when you have an open mind to listen to every school of thought. Geography is a reality. History comes from the past and nothing much can be done about it. This has to be understood in terms of civil-military synergy. For the benefit of the audience, let me briefly highlight some of the cancerous malaises that are destroying the very fiber of the Naga society. I strongly feel that it would be more expedient for all the stakeholders to understand the entire gamut of the problems faced by the people of Nagaland before we envision its future. As I muse over the last more than 6 decades of my passionate involvement with my beloved birthplace, Nagaland, and its cheered evolution into a modern socio-political entity, my heart is pierced with painful sting at the many follies and frailties that persist in plaguing my endeared land and its simple people. My condition is rendered more pitiable considering the fact that most of my illustrious peers have already passed over to celestial realms and leaving me lonely and desolate with no one to confide and share my thoughts, concerns, and anxiety about the present and the future of the Naga people. It is my onerous burden that the memory and knowledge of the past events continue to rankle and weigh in my mind, especially when juxtaposed with the disturbing present scenario prevailing in the state. Bereft of lofty ideals and exalted visions, the political developments in Nagaland continues to manifest a dangerous, amateurish and cavalier streak. The entire polity in the state betrays lack of any commitment, ideology or vision and is remarkable in its slapdash and slipshod actions. Political ideology, public morality, party principles, or democratic ethics find no place in the present political scenario in Nagaland. In fact, the sole motive of any political leader, activist, or worker in the state worth his name appears to be an MLA or a minister by hook or by crook, even by subverting all norms and canons of civilized political behavior. The lure of the party ticket is overwhelming and overpowering, and if denied, the aspirants have absolutely no qualms in jumping the fence and groveling at the doors of any other party for the same. What a travesty of democracy! It is most anguishing and tragic that in Nagaland we are nurturing a politics devoid of any principle or morality, a politics that is nameless and faceless, where only power, pelf of illicit liquor rule the roost. And this is equally applicable to both overground and underground participants. I believe that one of the most ardently agitated and endlessly cogitated and undeniably the most cherished political agenda in Nagaland is the issue of unique and inviolable identity of the Nagas. The preservation, protection and promotion of the distinct Naga identity continues to be the bulwark of Naga polity. Despite the fact that Nagaland became the 16th state of the Indian Union in 1963 and acquired its functional and participative status in the federal polity of the country under the constitutional scheme of things, there are still some elements in the Nagaland who continue to pay lip service to the slogan of Nagas are not Indians and sovereign Naga state. However, this claim needs careful scrutiny in the light of the prevailing realities and worldviews. So far, no one has disowned the Naga plebiscite of 1951, and thus, politically, its spirit is still alive. There are certain groups who are supposed to be espousing the cause shrined in the plebiscite, but their actions totally belied their faith in it. When the cross-section of Naga society, including the underground groups, actively and enthusiastically participate in all the elections, both parliamentary and state legislative elections, which were undoubtedly conducted under the Constitution of India. It is not a fait accompli that the electorate of Nagaland, even including the underground, had actively participated in the election. It is my belief that more pertinent and crucial question which should trouble us now is the future of the Naga people. What could be the redeeming feature for future political dialogue under the present circumstances? The people of Nagaland themselves, smothered between two extremes, each one worse than the other in its implications and prognosis. On the one hand, there are votaries of utopia and quixotic visions of promised land, and on the other hand, there is crass and hopelessly confused political class, which has no compunctions in courting and pandering to the political party in the country without iota of knowledge or concern about its ideology or agenda. Both political ideology and political principle have been accorded a graceful and ceremonious burial in Nagaland at the altar of venality and selfishness. What is most agonizing is that common people of Nagaland have increasingly fallen prey to to the seductions of easy money and lure of petty materialistic gains that can be eked out of the debased political systems. The electorate seems unconcerned about the manifestos of the political parties or discourses of their leaders and is merely interested in auctioning their precious votes to the highest bidders in the electoral fray. The fair and free casting of votes, which are the basic essence of the true democracy, have been woefully reduced to merely saleable commodities. Where is the genuine political consciousness of the mind of the people? And in such a horrendous situation, what is the role or relevance of the political parties in the prevailing political environment in Nagaland? More importantly, what are the end products of the dysfunctional political system? Needless to mention, any final product of a system is contingent on the system's procedures and underlying ideology of the whole manufacturing process. The distortions and failings underlying the present political environment in Nagaland invariably ensures that the elected people's representatives are pitiful caricatures of the hallowed visions of the founding fathers of our great nation. Without thorough electoral reforms based on Naga traditional norms, with due emphasis on political morality and values, the people cannot expect a responsible, responsive, and pro-people assembly. In the present conditions, the Legislative Assembly of Nagaland would be adorned by members bankrupted by travails of costly elections, whose sole preoccupation would be to make a quick buck to make good the expenditure incurred during the elections. Where is the scope of any welfare activities or missionary zeal then for the weal and good of people, since the same people had extorted and extracted money from the MLAs during the elections? What a democracy and its sham execution! As of now, there seems to be a total dark eclipse on the morality and ethics of the electorate and the practitioners of politics in the state, and this vicious circle of corruption, nepotism, degradation, and inefficiency seems no signs of abating. The people in the state have become so shockingly self-centered and greedy that they do not even realize that by compelling candidates to pay for their votes, they are actually digging their own graves and perpetuating their miseries, administrative apathy, and inefficiency of the systems. However, it is critically important to dwell into the probable reasons of this egregious degradation of the political morality in the people of Nagaland to prevent it from retrievably spiraling downwards. In fact, the need of the hour is to undertake an honest and thorough introspection and conscious analysis of our hearts and minds to explore the roots of these malicious vices and infirmities before the whole society is consumed by these dreaded worms of moral and ethical destruction. By virtue of my intimate and concerned involvement with the people and state of the Nagaland for more than 50 years, I am taking liberty to cite some factors responsible for the present pessimistic mindset and perverted attitude of the Naga people towards their society and polity. There is no denying the fact that the original Naga political movement under the sterling leadership of A.Z. Fizo, the president of Naga National Council, was truly and genuinely a people's movement fired by the passion and vigor of Naga nationalism. The independence and sovereignty of the Nagas was abundantly ingrained in the collective consciousness of the Naga people, and it was vehemently exhorted that they are not Indians and Nagaland was not party of any Indian union. The common Naga people responded with great enthusiasm and fervor to the clarion call of their great leader A.Z. Fizo and unflinchingly sacrificed their utmost to the cause of independence. For nearly 2 decades, the cross-section of Naga's community, irrespective of tribe, clan, fervently and actively participated in the struggle for their independence and shed their blood and sweat for their motherland. However, despite their heroics and selfless sacrifices, the cherished goal of independence perennially eluded them, leaving them distraught and frustrated. In fact, the forerunners of this passionate aim found themselves incapable of marshalling the old, tired, and physically and psychologically exhausted movement of their dreams. Moreover, their glorious dreams had been sullied by the subsequent events of the last 2 decades, leaving them virtually like fish out of the water. The situation was compounded by the fact that rapid and unprecedented changes swept the social, economic, political landscape in the country and the world over the last 2 decades, which have left the older generation gasping and the younger generation breed amazed and awestruck. It is an undeniable fact that the youth of today, including our young Naga brethren, are not swayed or impressed by promises of a chimerical sovereignty without any practical or economic benefits. Moreover, they were never witness to the passion and fervor of the original Naga movement, and as such are not unduly influenced by its appeal. To worsen matters further, the present political leadership is woefully bankrupt, ideologically, morally, intellectually, and ethically, and cannot inspire confidence and commitment in the young Nagas. The spirit of patriotism and dedications that propelled the Naga movement is no longer there. However, periodic parroting of sovereignty issue is undertaken, especially by the underground groups, as a ritual to show their existence, and at the same time keep the Naga brethren preoccupied with this mirage. But the truth is that the Naga people of all hues measured the worth of all theoretical statements and have suffered enough, socially, economically, emotionally, and physically over the last few decades. The Naga public are more enlightened and more pragmatic in their attitudes to the environment. They are alive to the happenings in the world through media and particularly through the churches. Further, it is equally pertinent to note that unlike the 40s and 50s, no public leader or underground group can hide or camouflage any issue or material fact from the people. The phenomenal advancements in science, telecommunication, and information technology have resulted in the pronounced penetration of mass media, satellite television, and internet across the length and breadth of our country, and the hitherto unaware and ignorant villager is today acutely conscious of the latest developments around the globe. Barring a section of the hardcore who were torchbearers of the Naga movement, the people of Nagaland, by and large, are reconciled to the political reality of the present 21st century. The most disturbing erosion of the political values and extinction of any sanctity in Naga politics and politicians has rendered the common Naga people frustrated, disillusioned, and confused, breeding overpowering contempt and disregard for the entire polity. There is no iota of doubt in my mind that the entire Naga society is at the crossroads of destiny, wherein they have to be lucidly clear in their objectives and the paths to attain those objectives. This is the fullness of time to shed the pretensions and illusions of fanatical dreams and embark on a reasoned, sensible, and pragmatic path towards greater and overall progress and development. Unfortunately, the practical ground reality is that the Naga public is foundering in the depths of confusion and bewilderment and is effectively rudderless in the absence of any charismatic, committed, and inspiring political leadership. This lack of clarity and turmoil invariably generates despondency, negative outlook, and listlessness. The common people, suffering under the throes of belied promises, violent struggle, and corrupt and ineffective governance are further tormented by the absence of any clear vision of the future, and they invariably relapse into cynicism and mistrust. So entrenched and engraved is the pessimism in the hearts and minds of the beleaguered people that they abdicate their duties and sense of responsibility towards the society and polity. That they are no longer ashamed in trading their votes and at the best bargain. The disenchantment with the entire system renders the party manifestos and speeches entirely irrelevant and meaningless in the face of the illicit monetary benefits. The ugly and the malicious trend and negative mindset needs to be reversed before this monster devours the entire Naga society. The Naga society is assailed on all sides by destructive forces compounded by amateurish political, social and religious players in the scene, which has caused the severest blow to the sanctity of the tribal ethos. In such a confused political panorama, where leaders without any commitment to any ideology enter into hustings, it is impossible to expect them to perform anything substantial for the weal and welfare of the people, and this further aggravates the negativity and gloominess of the masses, who find themselves compelled to make hay while the sun shines during elections. Needless to mention, the rot in the political system and the public perception of politics continues to deepen. No sensible and sentient social observer can deny the adverse impact of our rapidly transforming times on the older generations of the Naga brethren, who are finding it quite onerous and difficult to adjust and reconcile with modern way of life. The almost sudden and precipitous shift from primitive society to modern social, economic and cultural system has substantially derailed all the prized and cherished thoughts and ideas. The inexorable mental, emotional and psychological trauma of the drastic cultural shift continues to rankle the collective psyche of the Naga people. The distress of this cultural transformation is compounded by the prevailing ideological confusion and absence of clear vision for the Naga society, and further accentuated by the relentless streak of the violence and fraternal bloodsheds by the warring underground factions. The utter hopelessness and psychological scars on the mental parchment of the Naga can well be imagined, and it is but natural that the pessimism and despair projects on overall polity in the state and the politicians, they being the main contributors of the prevailing chaos. Arguably, the most disastrous political trend in the state is the inextricable infusion and entrenchment of criminality and criminal elements in the state politics. As ravenous vultures, the underground faction relish in feasting on the hapless candidates during the parliamentary and state assembly elections, using their brute muscle power to buttress the cause of the highest bidder in the election fray. The shameless claim and double standards of the underground groups are totally exposed to the common people when they actively and vigorously participate in the elections conducted under the aegis of Constitution of India. Where is the righteousness and purity of the claims of Naga sovereignty? The practical reality is that the underground movement in Nagaland has lost its all credibility and confidence, and is pitifully reduced to an instrument of unbridled loot, naked plunder and harassment of defenseless common Naga people. Under the thin guise of Naga sovereignty, the underground leadership has strangulated the entire Naga economy and stymied its progress through a vicious regime of extortions and illegal collections of money from all sections of the community. Open pillage and shameless loot has become the order of the day, no wonder the common man is disillusioned and distraught. Ravaged by decades of internecine warfare, senseless killings, violence, and all pervasive gun culture, the once brave and valiant Nagas have become enervated, timid, and spineless. With their minds shrouded by the relentless fear psychosis unleashed by the underground groups, the gallant and fearless Nagas are reduced to mere obsequious slaves to the diktats and whims of underground. So overpowering is the prevailing atmosphere of fear and apprehension that the Naga people have lost the ability to apply their minds and think for their larger good and future prospects. The timidity and helplessness of the Naga people is so exaggerated that they even cannot summon the courage to feebly condemn the monstrous and heinous crimes committed by the underground against their own brethren. The horrific feature is completed by the fact that even the church leaders are scared to air their views for fear of violent reprisals from the underground. In the name of the Naga sovereignty, very essence and soul of the Naga society has been mercilessly and callously butchered. Technologically, we live in borderless world. In reality, however, we exist in compartments, separated by walls of caste, religion, and geography. Today, the people of Nagaland are witnessing mushrooming of underground factions, tribalism, and jingoism. Most of the leaders, both underground as well as overground, are too obsessed with the past only. In their thinking, they are completely divorced from the contemporary realities. Snowed under as we are with tons of information, we are facing a paradox. We find that ignorance levels are growing as well. The rate at which we are accumulating information is not commensurate with the rate at which our awareness is growing. How much more do we know about reality and existence? The amassing and worldly knowledge is acting like a moat that prevents the passage of even more important kind of knowledge about the self. The ignorance of self is compounding individual tensions, creating discord in relationships, and is responsible for changing the character of the family as a reliable support system. The most dangerous in human society is the negative emotions. It affects almost all spheres of life, whether in relationships or societal activities. The basic of life is to attain happiness and peace. All religion advocate the art of discovering the self. Sage Narada tells Sanat Kumar in the Chand Yoga Upanishad, only he who knows self goes beyond sorrow. By knowing the self, the unseen becomes the seen, the unknown becomes the known, and all the doubts gets destroyed. But to know the self, we have to shake off the falsehood in us and recognize illusion for what it is. This is the way to dissolve all differences between individuals, communities, and faiths. The power matrix needs to be understood properly before we go deep into the theme shaping future through political statesmanship and military civil synergy. Nagaland today is landed in a terrible mess. Multiple authorities, both constitutional as well as extra-constitutional, are functioning according to their whims and fancies and thereby totally undermining the rule of law. Governance is in delirium. Free for all in the land, but none is free under such an environment. When the entire systems are in disarray, what kind of a future can be fashioned for the Nagas? Should we have to dream a bright future for the people of the Nagaland, a total overhauling of the entire systems would be required, where joint efforts of military and civil will be required. If Nagaland is geographically, politically, and constitutionally an integral part of Indian Union, Why should she suffer too long under the grip of secessionist elements? Now that two political agreements, Framework Agreement of 3rd August 2015, signed in the presence of Prime Minister, Home Minister and National Security Advisor, and agreed position signed on 17th November 2017 are there, why delay for the final implementation? Here comes the united voice of the military and the civil to impress upon the Government of India to see the ground realities. Once the Naga political problem is finally resolved, the people of Nagaland shall rise up as free citizens and start engaging themselves fully in their respective avocations without hindrance from any quarter. In shaping the future of the people of Nagaland through political statesmanship and military civil synergy, we should recognize rising aspirations of the youth of Nagaland. Every individual aspires to be on the top of the world. So is every state and country. Like all indigenous people of the world, the Nagas had a dream and an ideal. They have been witnessing the emergence of India as a global economic and political superpower and want to be part of this success story. For nearly 60 years, the Nagas have learned to live with reality of Indian democracy, participating in record numbers in election after election and even braving the bullets in the process. By and large, they are now inclined to shed their past ideological baggage and face the reality. After years of violence and bloodshed, all they want is peace and development of their beautiful homeland. This provides the Government of India with a unique opportunity to find a lasting solution to the Naga problem. This opportunity should not be allowed to fritter away. It may be prudent for all concerned parties to learn from the following sage saying: we may not be able to change the direction of the wind, but then we can always adjust our sails. The people of Nagaland should recognize that their future is tied with the future of the country. For this to happen, Government of India should adopt an inclusive approach to development that guarantees equal opportunity for Nagaland to participate. India as a nation is competing for an exalted position in the countries of the nations. The journey so far has been quite encouraging and India is forging ahead to play a significant role in the affairs of the world. It is heartening to note that India is on the threshold of becoming an economic superpower in the world, for which the path has been laid. All the development of the world clearly and assuredly indicates that the 21st century will be dominated by the Asian civilization. In this scenario, India along with China and Japan will be the key players in the international arena. India's economic strength could be determined by the economic growth of all the units and states. All units should grow simultaneously as partners of the progress for India to achieve the top position in the world. The problem of the regional imbalance should be addressed properly to accelerate and add momentum to the growth engine that India has put on the move. A small state like Nagaland has great potential which, if optimally harnessed, can contribute significantly to the common growth of the country. There should be enough space in the development pathways for the people of the Nagaland to participate actively along with the pan-Indian growth and to be ready to face the challenges ahead of them. I unquote. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a huge round of applause for Dr. S.C. Jamir for sharing his thoughts with us.
Asking about the military-civic fusion. For me, I had the privilege of seeing and experiencing the relationship between the military and the civilians from a very young age. As already mentioned in the introduction, I was brought up and I studied in a school, Loyola School in Jakama. which is just located below the then 8th Mountain Division headquarters. So that way, there was a lot of relationship between the neighboring villages, between the school and the military. And we had on a number of occasions the Chief of Army Staff visiting the locations, and we had the opportunity to host the civic reception in our school compound, in our playground, where we get the participation from all the villagers. The leaders were given to speak. They were allowed to perform some traditional shows. And that way, there was a very good rapport and understanding between the military and the civilians. And by virtue of being a student, we took maximum advantage of the camp also. There were a number of canteens spread over the camp. It was the division headquarters, so it was more or less like a mini township in itself, providing all these items through the canteens at very cheap rate. We also had the opportunity to go and see movies and films in the theater. And of course, banking facilities were also provided, so on and so forth. So that was the kind of relationship which I have seen and experienced, and which I think till now it continues. So that was the advantage I experienced. Well, coming to today's topic, we often discuss governance, development, and security as separate fields, which we think are supposed to be manned by different government departments and agencies. However, to truly build a prosperous and stable society, we must recognize them as three deeply interdependent pillars. They are not standalone concepts, but are fundamentally connected, each relying on the other to succeed. You cannot have sustainable development without security, and security cannot be maintained without effective governance that delivers development to the society and the people. Our military and civil paramilitary forces are often seen as guardians of our borders and internal peace. But their role extends far beyond this. Our forces possess a unique reach, discipline, and ability to operate in the most challenging and remote areas. In doing so, they provide a crucial foundation of stability, creating the secure environment in remote areas. Without their presence, many communities would be left out without the services they need to strive. Throughout our history, we have seen powerful examples of what happens when civil administration and security forces work together. Think of the coordinated initiatives that have led to the construction of critical roads in different terrains, providing access to the most remote villages. Consider the establishment of healthcare camps and the provision of educational materials in conflict-affected regions. We have also witnessed how this educational synergy has been instrumental in empowering women and youth, giving them the tools and opportunities to build better lives. These are not isolated incidents, but a testament to the fact that when we converge our efforts, we can achieve extraordinary results. For decades, security forces like the Assam Rifles and the Indian Army have played a vital role beyond their traditional mandate. In Nagaland, they have provided the rich discipline and stability needed to enable the civil administration to function effectively, especially in the remote and challenging areas. This dual role has been critical in fostering an environment conducive to progress. The coordination between the civil administration and the security forces, including the district administration, police, is a crucial part of national security, internal stability, and effective disaster response. It ensures that both arms of the state government administration, machinery, and the military works together in tandem and ensure governance reaches the last mile. The platform of the security coordination meetings in the districts provides a crucial connection between the armed forces and the administration and for sharing intelligence and resources. In my own experience in the field as Deputy Commissioner Kohima, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, the armed forces, especially the paramilitary forces, went beyond the call of duty and fought a common unseen enemy. More than the fight against the disease, the struggle was to maintain our human side and ensure that no one sleeps in empty stomach or face undue discrimination in spite of contracting the disease. The water tankers and the trucks of the security forces transported essential commodities to the quarantine centers and the remote villages, proving once again that they are indeed the friends of the hill people. Time and again, the Assam Rifles have proven to be friends of the hill people in general and the administration in particular. The Assam Rifles are a strong ally in times of disaster and internal unrest, and history is proof of this resolute association. And I think you are going to dwell on this topic of disaster, how we come and collaborate and function and mitigate all our problems. So it's good that our officers from the state government will also be participating in this. Year after year, officer trainees of the Nagaland Civil Service go on attachment to various posts and companies of the Assam Rifles to better understand this association and also how Assam Rifles stand as the sentinels of the Northeast. As Commissioner, Nagaland, and on behalf of all the districts and the district administration, I would like to take this opportunity to appreciate and put on record all the community outreach initiatives the Assam Rifles have undertaken in all the districts. This partnership is not merely a theoretical concept. It is a lived reality here. We have seen numerous examples of this coordinated effort producing tangible results. Healthcare. Security forces conduct free medical and dental camps in remote villages, providing essential services and medicines where there are few civilian facilities. Talk about education. We have seen initiatives to support schools, distribute books and stationeries, computers, and even provide pre-recruitment training for our youth aspiring to join the forces or other government jobs, empowering them and steering them away from the conflict. Infrastructure. Efforts like the construction of waiting sheds, community halls, playgrounds, and the provision of solar lamps and water tanks in underserved areas demonstrate a commitment to bridging the development gap. Youth and women empowerment. Civic action programs also focus on skill development and vocational training. exposure trips for the youths and students, assisting women's self-help groups, and organizing not only sporting events but also distributing sports goods to the youths to build stronger community bonds. Recently, the Assam Rifles have conducted various activities in different districts of Nagaland, including youth empowerment initiatives, lecture on harmful effects of drug abuse, and promotion of sports. It may be worth mentioning that the Assam Rifles, to promote education and youth empowerment, has, in collaboration with the National Integrity and Educational Development Organization and the Axis Band, has signed an MOU to establish the Hovildar Merang Au SC Retired Center of Excellence and Wellness in Mokokchung. This center aims to provide free academic coaching, monitoring, mentoring, and holistic wellness programs to the youth of Northeast region and Nagaland in particular. In Peren, a lecture on harmful effects of drug abuse and the dangers of illicit drug trafficking has been organized. Additionally, in PAC, they have also extended active support to Project Mavinok, the warrior to safeguard children and spread awareness against abuse. To build on this success, we must move towards structured, institutionalized partnership. While the current cooperation is commendable, formalizing these relationships can create a more predictable and sustainable framework for future initiatives. This is about ensuring that this valuable synergy continues and evolves beyond personal goodwill or temporary programs. It is worth mentioning that for multiple decades, the Indian government's approach towards governance in Nagaland relied heavily on extraordinary military powers, particularly the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. This militarized approach created a significant divide between the military and the civilian population, often leading to mistrust and allegations of human rights violation. While ceasefire brought relative peace, the continued presence of multiple political groups posed significant challenge for progressive development, stable institutions, and governance as a whole. To debate over Armed Forces Special Power Act highlights deep-seated challenges in balancing security concerns with democratic governance. Instances of allegations of misuse of power by security agencies can severely strain relations with the local population, making the task of civil administration towards building trust and delivering development even more difficult. Hence, the convergence of military-civil administration in Nagaland requires better coordination and collaboration to shift from a security-centric approach towards peace building, inclusive growth, and administrative effectiveness. The ability to communicate, adapt, and work together is essential for the future stability and prosperity of the state. In order to strengthen our relationship and establish a better coordination, I would like to suggest a few points. Regular meetings, instituting a schedule of frequent formal meetings to discuss security issues, developmental projects, and citizens' welfare. These forums will serve as a platform for open communication and problem solving. Building mutual confidence, actively working to build confidence in each other's role and capabilities. This involves recognizing the unique strengths and responsibilities of both the administration and the security forces in maintaining peace and order. Resource sharing. Sharing resources including information, logistics, and personnel to maximize efficiency and achieve common goals. This collaborative approach will lead to a more integrated response to challenges facing the state. The civil administration plays a very vital role in bridging the security agencies with the Naga civil societies organizations like the tribal hohos, churches, and the NGOs. Continual engagement with these entities and invoking their participation are necessary in peace and trust building measures. We also need to have more dialogue between the civil administration and the security forces, because through these dialogues we can come to a lot of understanding and we can collaborate much better, and that way we will be able to strengthen our security and also bring development at a much better space and provide good and exceptional governance. So this is also one point I would like to stress. The joint ventures and community engagement to move beyond normal coordination and build a more visible, positive presence within communities. It is essential to understand more joint ventures. These activities should be designed to directly benefit citizens and address pressing social issues. Recommended joint initiatives include joint activities for youth and women, organizing collaborative events such as sports tournaments, cultural festivals, and self-help group workshops. These activities can build rapport and demonstrate a unified commitment to community development. Seminar on drug abuse, conducting more seminars and awareness campaign on the ill effects of drug abuse and trafficking. This will educate the public and equip them with the knowledge to combat these social issues. Encouraging skill development. As it is, our government is giving a lot of push for skill development. We have jobs, but we need skilled personnel to man these jobs, so which we are lacking at present. So skill development, as already emphasized, is one area we can also concentrate and equip our youth with the necessary skills to man the various jobs. That way we'll be able to engage the youth in a very productive manner. So this skill development, partnering and initiatives that providing skill development and vocational courses. This will enable them and empower them with the tools needed for employment and entrepreneurship. Exposure trips. Just this morning I came to know the Assam Rifles. We are conducting a number of exposure trips, engaging our rural youth particularly, and even from the other areas also, and taking them to various parts of the country, meeting various people and also important personalities, and even the President of India. So it's heartening to learn about that, and I think if you can do this, this will be broaden our youth's horizons and foster a sense of nationalism and national integrity to all of them. So this is also one area you are already doing, but we can give further push on this and see to it that we cover the entire Nagaland area. Particularly, I would stress on the rural areas where our youths are in such a poor state of condition, and providing an exposure trips to them to move and visit other states will be a very, very great thing to them. It will be a very great learning experience for them also. By implementing these measures, the district administration and the security forces can transform their relationship from a purely professional one to a truly collaborative partnership focused on the well-being and progress of the citizens of Nagaland. In conclusion, let us reaffirm the central truth of our time in Nagaland. Our security forces and civil administration are not only the guardians of peace, but also powerful catalysts of development. By working together, they have not only provided security, but are actively helping to build a more prosperous and equitable one. It is a partnership that embodies the spirit of our state and will continue to be a cornerstone of Nagaland's progress. With these few words, I thank you all once again for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
I received one letter from City. Yeah, look, Amanda. Okay. Good to see you. Good to meet you. How are you?
कल ऐसी बार बता देते सारी फाइलें
Good morning and welcome. Good to see you all. Bright and fresh.